There
Great.
she is.
Hey, Brad. I don't know. Do we want to wait a little bit, Melanie? Or it looks like people are joining.
Yeah, we don't have to start right away. I just wanted to get the recording started because in previous years I've forgotten until Brad had already started. And then I felt bad interrupting.
Huh.
Hey, we can start. It's 1 minute after. It looks like we have a good number of folks, and we're recording it as well. So
Okay. You want me to start or?
yeah, go ahead and start, and I can take over midway. Yeah.
Sounds good. Well, welcome everybody. So this is the Pilot Award um, information session for C3EN. So that's the Chicago Chronic Condition Equity Network, C3EN. And we have some pilot awards. We want to tell you about our pilot award program. We'll go over a lot of details today, but of course you can go to the website here, pilotawards.c3en.org if you want more info. Trying to advance my slides. Here we go. So I'm Brad Applehands. I'm a professor at Rush University Medical Center, one of the co-directors of the Investigator Development Corps, and we sort of run the operations of the pilot program. Arshia, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm associate professor of medicine, a general internist at University of Chicago, and a health services researcher, and co-run this core with Brad, and Melanie is our administrator extraordinaire.
Indeed, she is. So for scientific questions, feel free to reach out to Arshia or myself. Administrative questions, feel free to reach out for Melanie. We also have some other members of the Investigator Development Corps that are available to provide consultation for people who receive pilot awards. And they all have expertise in biostatistics. So you can see who they are here. We've got Dr. Suzuki, Dr. Wang, and Nikita Thomas at University of Chicago. So they're part of the team. So this is an interesting pilot award mechanism. You know, C3EN is one of 11 National Health Disparities Research Centers. All 11 of those centers have a pilot award program. The goal of those programs is to cultivate a network of investigators that focus on health disparities in the region associated with each particular center. And so we're trying to do that here in Chicago. And we're doing it in a few ways. So first, obviously, we have pilot funding that we're awarding, but we also try to provide support both throughout the pilot study itself and then beyond the pilot study as people take those findings and try to leverage them into publications and, of course, new grant applications, really to help these people who are part of our pilot award program become established independent health disparities researchers in Chicago. So the vision is, you know, we end up with 40 new health disparities researchers in the Chicago area. So that some of the support we provide includes mentorship from experienced investigators, many associated with the center, access to the research infrastructure at both University of Chicago and Rush, which are the two partnering organizations, academic organizations anyway, involved in the program. And then methodological, biostatistical, and other types of consultation that you can call on throughout the project. So the goal of these pilot studies that we're trying to fund are to inform work that addresses disparities. We are not trying to fund large projects by established investigators. As I mentioned, we're trying to fund the kinds of pilot studies that young investigators, early investigators can leverage to become independent investigators going forward. It is not meant to provide bridging support for people who are short on funding, but you can propose to do a pilot study that is sort of built on an existing ongoing project as long as it has scientifically distinct aims. The scope of these projects should be, you know, about $50,000 or $60,000. So small studies that can ideally be completed in a year. If you wanted to propose something that might be considered formative or summative research, so that might be like a focus group with a community organization, or maybe some kind of planning project with a community group, you might consider instead our community grants program. So I think they're called the Joyce Chapman Community Grants Program. That's also available on the C3EN website. Those are smaller grants meant for very focused activities. So the priority topics for these pilot studies are those that examine disparities in multiple chronic conditions. We really like projects that propose an intersectoral approach to reducing disparities. So this might be involving housing or policy or law or the correctional system or some other sector outside of healthcare that has an influence on health. So those are a high priority as well. We definitely like projects that involve community partnerships, and the more involved the community group is, the better, though it's not a requirement that every project has a community partner. We're looking for novel approaches, interesting study designs, of course, and applications from underrepresented minorities. In addition, we've just built into the request for applications some of the priorities that our community partners associated with our center have identified. So those include mental health, managing chronic conditions, and accessing care. And there's a few other little areas that have been identified too, like food insecurity. And am I forgetting any other areas? No? Okay. So those are some high. Oh,
Brad,
go ahead.
did you mention mental health?
I did. Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
So send those applications in for sure. To be eligible, you have to be first someone with a research career. So you have to be sort of a researcher. You have to have an academic institution or community organization as your affiliation. It has to be in Chicago. So postdoctoral trainees, early career faculty are definitely eligible to apply. Students, pre-doctoral trainees, and residents are not eligible to apply. The work has to occur somewhere in the Chicago region, and it's a pretty broad region. I think we go all the way to like the western suburbs, all the way up to Wisconsin, and maybe even a touch into Indiana, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a pretty big geographic area. And you have to be either an early stage health disparities researcher, so that would be someone that completed their training in the last 10 years, or an early career faculty who has not received substantial NIH funding, or you could be an established investigator that's transitioning into health disparities research. And you can only get one of these pilot grants. You can submit multiple applications, but you would only be able to receive one. I'm not going to go through this in detail, but we basically have like a R03 level application for our pilot program. So we have all these different sections here. One thing that's distinct from a typical grant would be this mentorship plan. 1 page maximum. Most of the ones that come in are about half a page. And we do want you to identify a mentor who's going to be with you throughout this project, describe the kinds of mentoring activities that will occur. And we do hope that you can articulate some expectations around any authorship, ownership of data generated through the project, intellectual property. These don't have to be super intensive mentorship, but we do want to know that there's someone ideally at your institution who's going to be there to provide support if you struggle with things like getting IRB approval or hiring. So those are some of the issues that we've seen come up in prior pilot studies where the mentorship has been an important part. So if you have questions about this, you can feel free to ask when we get to the end here. Here's some more forms. All of this is done through REDCap. So when you go to the website, you can submit all of it through the REDCap form.
이거 회의 마치거나 분리수거하니까 걱정 말고 자 언니.
Okay.
잘 자.
If you could mute if you're not speaking, that'd be good. We do have a part of the grant where we ask you to comment on the level of community engagement in your project. And as we mentioned, not every project needs to have a community partner, but we do want you to be thoughtful about the role of community. So if you don't have any community partnership, that's fine. Maybe just explain why that is, and maybe explain how communities would become more involved as this line of research progresses. So we do have this little graphic that we adapted from another source, so you can reference this. I think that pretty much covers it. Arshia, is this a good spot for you to take over?
Yeah, that's great.
All right.
Good. You may need to, yeah, forward for me. Thank you. So as we talk about community engagement, some of you may be new to it. Maybe some of you have done community engagement work. We are here to also offer consultations on how to incorporate community engagement into your application, how to partner with relevant organizations. Part of the C3EN Center, we have a community engagement core. So we do have community organizations that are part of our center as well, or who are collaborating with us. So there's even some FAQs on the website if you have more questions about community engagement. So in terms of the details, so the projects can be up to 12 months is usually the default. 24 months if there's a compelling reason, and that's usually through potentially through a no-cost extension, but we can have those conversations as you're going through your grant. So the budget, the max is $50,000, except actually if you have a community partner, then you can put $10,000 towards them, and so you can have a total budget of $60,000. So this is really in the spirit of community engagement. If there is an organization that is working on the project, that they should be able to share the budget. The indirect costs are covered. You may need to modify the budget prior to the award. We'll let you know. Just with NIH funding, we usually, we know that we want to give grants out that are 50 to 60,000, but sometimes NIH budget does change. There are some limits in terms of conference travel, equipment purchases, and then we do support salary for PIs up to 10%. If you need more than that, you'll need to justify that. So we do want to support you all, after you get an award as well. So we provide access to methodological consultations. So we listed our biostats folks. We have experts in informatics, implementation science, and intersectoral action, so policy as well. For mentorship, we do ask that you try to identify a mentor. But if you need some advice and maybe you need a content expert or mentorship in a certain method, we are here to help link you to people as well. There are these research progress meetings that will be happening, and that's where we will be sort of checking in to see how things are going. Are you meeting your project milestones? And we'll be reviewing your project's milestones throughout the year, and then we'll be asking you for a progress report as well. Some of the conditions of the funding. So if you have human subjects as a part of your project, you will need to have IRB approval before you receive the funds. And you should have a data safety monitoring plan for all non-exempt human subjects research studies. If your study is a clinical trial as defined by the NIH, you do have to register it at clinicaltrials.gov before you start enrolling subjects. So yeah, so we have some upcoming training opportunities, and this is again how we support our applicants and our grantees. So in the winter, Dr. Lynch and Dr. Johnson of Rush will be teaching a class on how to design high quality behavioral clinical trials, and this is based on the book led by Dr. Linda Powell, who's at Rush as well. If you're interested in learning more about this class, please email Melanie and she can send some information to you. And again, just some key dates. Applications are due December 1st. And we do have the websites for our Pilot Grants Award program, as well as the Joyce Chapman Community Grants as well. So I think that now we're open for questions. The next slide. Yeah, just a thank you to everyone for attending today. And the rest of the time is for all of you. So what questions can we answer that have maybe come up or that weren't clear? Yeah, Susan? Yeah.
So can we just go back to, I think it was probably one of the first sentences out of Brad's mouth was about the focus of the grant. It sounded more like you were interested in funding projects around what I'll call social determinants of health. I think housing was mentioned, as opposed to a disease entity that may have health disparities issues linked to it. Can you elaborate a little more on that?
I would say that we are pretty much open to any health disparities project. They're all eligible, though we do have some, threads that we are sort of prioritizing. And those would include, community-based projects, those focused on social determinants. And some of that actually comes down from NIH. So when they funded all these centers, they had their own priorities they wanted us to sort of transfer on. For example, all of the projects funded by the center directly have to include all these required measures of social determinants of health that we're sending to the central coordinating center. So that's going to come from all 11 sites. So we do have some areas that are sort of priorities, but they're not hard and fast requirements.
Thank
Yeah,
you. It's muted.
yeah, that's a great question, Susan. And I would say that also there's a focus on chronic conditions as well.
So chronic condition that there was clear health disparities issues related to it might be eligible. Is that even if the major factor in that disparity is not social or economic, but for instance, genetic, let's just say. That would be considered, you think? I understand. I'm trying to back you into a corner. I'm sorry. Okay, thank you.
And I have a question about mentorship plan. So this is Jean Kim from Rush University College of Nursing. So my question is that, should we have a mentor in the Chicago area, or would it be okay, to have, my mentor in, other states or something?
Yeah, I can say we have not come up with a rule about that. I think it would be totally acceptable to propose a mentor out of state. I think the two caveats to that would be you'd want to make a compelling case that they're still going to be engaged. So I guess that would sort of be the first hurdle with an out of state mentor. And then to some degree, you would hope that a mentor has insights into your own institutional constraints and strengths, and maybe even the community level context if it's relevant to your project. So, and there's no reason you couldn't have multiple mentors. One maybe focuses on career development, maybe that person's out of state, and then maybe you've got someone who's a more senior investigator with content expertise on your topic. So
Okay,
I'm sure there'd be a way to make it work.
Okay, thank you.
I see there's a question in the chat by Pavitra. Can applicants not at Rush or U of C but affiliated with another academic institution be eligible to apply? Yes, our focus is the Chicagoland area, and there's lots of great institutions around here. So yes, definitely open to Chicagoland institutions. Now, if you're thinking outside of Chicagoland, we'll have to think about that. I mean, Illinois is probably fine, as long as we're thinking about like a project that's focused like around the Chicagoland area. Now, out of state, I would think probably not, unless it's really relevant to Chicago. Great, thank you. I see the flashing thumb, that's great. What other questions do folks have? So applications are due in a couple months. And if you have any questions, feel free to email us and let us know. And yeah, I mean, feel free to share the announcement as well with your mentors, your mentees, your colleagues who'd be interested. because I think it's a good opportunity and a good program, and get all the benefits of all the resources that the center has also.
Is there a list? Good afternoon, everyone. Is there a list for researchers and their areas of passion or interest? Is there some type of table with areas of interest per researcher?
Not aware of any such list, really. We have the existing pilot awardees, of which there are now something like 18 or 19. But by definition, they're all going to be ineligible for the next round.
Yeah, I was
But,
just what prompted my question, Brad, and thanks for your response to that. I'm just trying to find a pool of researchers. So I'll know where, if I can use fishing metaphor language or analogy, where would I cast my line in the pool in order to pull up the researcher or the fish that's needed?
One thought would be, if you have a specific topic in mind, if you sent that to Melanie, we could at least circulate it to all of the people that have registered for this meeting. So clearly there are people on this call who are interested in applying, and then also to other networks. So we can kind of send that out. We even are developing a process for sort of fielding, I guess you'd say, requests for researchers. So yeah, just send us your topic.
Very good. Thank you.
Great. And yeah, the website does have prior awardees listed. So that's a great place to look and see what types of projects have been funded. And I believe we will be sharing the slides and the recording, Melanie, with folks.
Yeah, if you put your email address in the chat, I'll make sure to send you the slides and the link to the recording. So, and then the recording will be posted on YouTube, so you can, share it around.
Okay. Well, good luck, everyone. Feel free to email us, and we'll look forward to seeing your applications.
Thank you very
Thanks.
much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.